But
And
we actually just went live. It
we
didn't go live.
just we
We
didn't go
just
live, but
we
now
just
we're live.
Now we're officially live. So welcome. This is
Welcome.
the FreemanBot Mastermind. Bo had just started to speak to us
Hmm.
about his anniversary dinner last night, and he
Uh-huh.
met with a group of mortgage.
We
Uh,
did not meet with them. I was just there with my wife, and I overheard a group of gentlemen.
so you didn't participate in the conversation at all. You were just listening.
Uh-huh, just listening.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
but they were saying how dumb it is that people pay their mortgage.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
and or that people are still paying their mortgage.
yeah,
These guys were developers. So,
yeah.
um, wife and I out to eat, overheard a conversation, and the first thing that people mentioned was they thought it was stupid that people still pay mortgage. And I just thought, huh, interesting. So I leaned in a little bit while I was still having a conversation with my wife, and I overheard them say a couple other things. One guy said that he uses the sneak attack mortgage forgiveness method, which I thought was interesting, and I haven't been able to find anything about it. I mean, maybe
You probably
AI
should have
search or
asked them
something.
for a business card, man. You
I
know?
should have, yes,
It'd be great to know what their sneak attack method is. I can tell you
exactly.
this. I I was in Dallas the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a black lady driver in my Uber,
Yep.
and she said to me something about we just got to talking, and the header Ishka loan came up,
Hmm.
and she's like, "Yeah, I know exactly what that is.
Huh.
Isn't that the Jewish loan with no interest?" And I said, "Yeah, exactly." And she said, I was researching that, and I know all about it." And I said,
Really?
I'm like, "Whoa, you do?" She's like, "Yeah, one of the guys in my church is a loan shark." And I was trying to prove to him that, loan sharking ain't right. And that was one of the things that came up in the research was the header Ishka loan.
Right.
And, I mean, basically that's what everybody's doing on these sneak attack loans, whatever you want to call them.
Hmm.
That everybody's getting loan sharked, right?
Right.
Because if you agree to a loan shark, they're gonna break your legs, they're gonna break your kneecaps, they're gonna,
Right.
kick you out of your property and ultimately steal it, right?
Right.
That's what's happening with all these banks right now. They are the loan sharks. So,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough. Now, you also went and talked to a rabbi, right? How did
I
that go?
did. Yes. So, um, just a little background. We were building a building out of our one-step product up in Napa, in California, and his business was right next to the one where we were manufacturing these blocks. So we got to know each other, and he started asking me a bunch of questions. And he's one of the reasons, uh, combined with my son and his friends, why I've been officially red pilled or started researching the anonymous research movement. And that's kind of what led me to the vein of meeting David and then Adam. And so I'm here as a result of ministry with this rabbi. And this guy, he's not your typical rabbi. He's what's known as a messianic rabbi,
And
not
Jew
a
for Jesus, right?
not a messianic. Well, he's not Jewish, and he's not a Jew. He's from the tribe of Issachar and Manasseh. Those are his families.
Okay.
And he is Israel, but they still have rabbis. Not all rabbis have to be Jews or Jewish. That's
Yeah.
kind of a
Does he wear
misnomer.
does he wear a funny hat? Like me?
When he
I guess
when
I'm a
he
rabbi as well.
went on Sabbath, which is sundown Friday night to
Mhm.
sundown Saturday night. Yes, he does do his funny looking fun stuff. Not always, but he's not your typical. Um, he teaches from Torah,
Yeah.
but being Messianic has nothing to do with Masonic. Messianic is he believes in the Messiah is Yeshua HaMashiach, which is Jesus Christ, and he believes that the Holy Spirit dwells within us, and he believes everything that any other Christian would believe. He just calls himself a Messianic rabbi. So, and I might not be saying that right, but he is a wonderful man, and he is very well versed in Torah. And Adam and I, we've thrown some stuff back and forth, and asking questions. And I would message him, and he would give answers that not even AI would come up with, because just the way that he his brain is, the way his creativity is, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyways, so that's how I got to know him. But we were talking about this, about the Hader Ishka loans, or the Heder Ishka loans. And those loans are, he mentioned several scriptures, because I asked him, I said, well, can't Christians have this? And he says, theoretically, yes. Historically, no. So theoretically, he said that because it's in Torah, and he showed me the verse, which I sent to Adam. In Torah, it says that that Israel and the Gentiles will all follow the same law. They will all be under one law eventually, and it's obviously a prophecy about Christ. And a lot of Torah does that. So when you read Torah, a lot of the reason why the Jewish scholars miss it is because they have to, on purpose, deny the Christ. By doing that, they become inadvertently, whether they know it or not, on purpose or accidentally, they become anti-Christ. Exactly. And so nothing against those people, because before I met Christ, I was anti-Christ because of my life, my lifestyle, everything. And I just didn't know enough about it until I realized, right, Adam, with my real eyes, and I started to have those experiences that you only get by having Christ within and having that revelation of being born again. And so anyway, well, I was talking with my rabbi friend. He's sharing me the story of the brothers, and all throughout scripture there's these stories of brothers and how they interact with one another and the importance of it. And so one of the brothers that he mentioned was those that are involved in the inheritance. The first set of brothers was, of course, Ishmael and Isaac. Now, Ishmael was the older brother, but he was not the brother of promise, or the son of Sarah, where the promise came from, but he was a son of Abraham. So there's a promise to Abraham's children, which, you've heard the song, Father Abraham, we're all whatever, anyways.
Don't
So
know that song,
that's
but you guys sing it for us.
Father Abraham. Never mind. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so we're all children of Abraham, right?
Okay.
So whether
So the song
you're
goes.
Muslim, whether you're from Israel, whatever it is. So and also he also started to mention the whole point of Israel wasn't necessarily just a people group, but it was the culmination of Christ, and that's who Christ is. Christ is Israel, and because the people are not a scattered people, because they can't become a body if you're scattered. You can only become a body if you are one. And if you are one, you literally, you are the temple of his spirit, which is Christ within. And that's another topic for another day.
Israelite definition is someone who's pure in heart, that would never deceive another for personal gain.
Correct. Yep. So, well, there's a spiritual connotation and there's a natural connotation. What he was deriving from is the natural connotation that we are all children of Abraham. All right. And from that Abrahamic covenant, that's what Torah talks about. And so if that misnomer that Cruz talked about, Ted Cruz talked about, when he said, if you bless the Jewish people, if you bless the Jewish people, you're blessed, or if you bless whatever. And Tucker Carlson asked him, so are you talking about the government or the people? And so there's that. It's like, so the reality is that he's talking about the children of Abraham.
Yeah, not the mind control.
Not exactly. So
to copy other people.
So that's the first set of brothers. The second set of brothers is well, we'll jump to the New Testament. Second set of brothers is the older brother and the younger brother in the prodigal son's story. And most people think the prodigal son was the younger son, when in actuality, the prodigal son is the older, because one of the sons left, and the older one had the promise all along and never accessed it, because he had a misguided idea of who he was. He didn't truly know who he was. And it took the younger brother, right, to bring the revelation to the older brother, that the father said, hey, yeah, of course, your younger brother came back. Yes, he took his inheritance and squandered it. Yes, but he's now back in our family, and he's now like one of us. And the older brother, who is the true prodigal in this story, is identifying, saying, but I never threw any parties. You didn't give me a jacket and throw your ring on me. He goes, but you've been my son all along. You could have had this the entire time. You could have thrown a party if you wanted to. If you wanted to wear one of my jackets, just go do it. It's your inheritance. That's the whole story of those two brothers. And that's another story of the Heder Ishkelon. And then going back to the Old Testament, there's another two brothers. There were two brothers that were the children of Joseph. Joseph was the one that went into Egypt and saved Egypt and the Pharaoh of Egypt, and that whole situation. And then the Hebrews, or Israel, comes and joins in Egypt. But what happened was, and I believe it's Dan that's not mentioned in the 12 tribes, and neither is Joseph. But Joseph's two sons were adopted by Jacob, and by doing that, they actually they received that inheritance, and they were not truly part of the family at that moment, because they were half Egyptian. Okay. Because their mother was Egyptian, but Jacob adopted them, and that's another adaptation that the Gentiles, or the whatever you want to call them, the Gentiles were included into that fold. And so throughout, go ahead.
I love the stories. They're
great
stories. But I have no friggin' idea how that relates to a Heder Ishkelon.
Okay, so basically, throughout Torah, it talks about the importance of all of us being under Torah, which is law. All right. And there's a misplaced doctrine in a lot of the Jewish communities that separates them from the rest of the world. And that's not what Torah is about.
Think that they're the chosen people, yeah.
Exactly. But that's not what Torah is about. Torah is a representation of the Father ministering to his spirit, ministering to his children. And he's given that promise to Abraham and Abraham's seed, which includes all of us. And what that means is that ties us into Torah, being able to access, this is what my rabbi friend was saying, theoretically, to get access to a version of the Heder Ishkelons. Yep. So historically, the Heder Ishkelons is typical to the Jewish communities, which basically takes...
So you tie it back to the book of Abraham, more or less, the Torah.
That's what we do. That's what we should be doing as Christians, correct?
Yeah, because the whole thing is where it all started, and that's the whole base of everything.
Yep.
So there's no reason that we can't be getting these. We just have to demand that.
Exactly. So and that's the process that we're working on, is how to effectively demand them and still not directly fall under it. Because I think the Heder Ishkelon is flawed. I think that there's more to that loan that they're not telling their own communities, because there is a satanic involvement on top of the way that
they are not one who wouldn't deceive another for personal gain.
Exactly.
They'd even screw a shekel out of their own brother. That's how they are.
Exactly. And you and I, we went through this last week, didn't we? We went through all the Torah scriptures, even Old and New Testament, and even the covenant with in between, and we identified all the what happens when a brother trespasses on another or robs.
Here's what I determined from what you sent over. So
sent over we should put that list on Telegram, by the way, so that they can have access to that. Yeah. Anyways, continue.
Me again, or
I'll send it to you. Yeah. Yep.
The thing about it is it came clear to me that interest is only really supposed to be charged for one reason and one reason alone, and that's if somebody steals from you, right? So if it's a harm, if it's murder, rape, theft, trespass, coercion. So it's almost like these Jewish bankers believe that us by living is harm. So I was in Puerto Rico, which is, I have to say, I hope it never becomes a state of the United States, because it's the most deplorable place that I've ever been. It is a cesspool of greed. It is pride. The name, like, pride is part of their slogan, and it definitely has something to do with the sexual perversion there. It was rampant. The moral decay is rampant. The corruption there is rampant. It was just absolutely awful. But I did do a little research on that as well. And there is some Hebrew tribe that went and settled in Puerto Rico, which with our our wonderful, I think it's, what is it, the 13th trust number 13 of the IRS being in Puerto Rico. There's something very hidden about Puerto Rico and what they're doing there as well. And, this whole mess of people screwing over other people. And again, we go back to murder, rape, theft, trespass, coercion. That's harm, right? That's really the only place we should be charging any type of interest. And, I get it. These tariffs we're doing, I get it. Maybe, this whole IRS system, but I mean, definitely how do you say, not only do we have the Heterishka problem, but we have a secondary theft that's going on with everybody's property taxes, right? So we have this huge issue there. And I circle back to Puerto Rico because in a lot of cases, it was extremely racist. It's the most racist place I've ever been to Americans. And they called me the white man, really the white man. And then they call the Black Americans the black man because only they're superior. But it's just the way they are. They were really talking to us like this. Nick is my witness and God is my witness as well. But they really have the mindset that they just wish we would drop the money off and never come over. Never. Can't you just not come visit us and just send the money over? And that's in a way how I see all of these Heter loans, right? Or the regular loans, any of them. Can't we just take your money and, just take everything and then you never really say anything about it. You never really do anything about it. You never really question it, right? We just no appreciation. All we really just want is all the possible interest in your purchase, all the possible interest in what you have. But we kind of wish you wouldn't be here on this planet. And those are the people that are running those normal loans, right?
Of course.
People who wish that we weren't on the planet, right? They're
And think about interest, what the word actually means. You're not paying interest. They have interest on the property that you think that you're purchasing. And what happens over, let's just say you had a 5%, a really good interest rate, 5%. Over the course of that loan, right? Let's just say a 30-year loan. You're already going to pay for that just in interest. So you could have paid that loan back, but because of the way the banking system has perverted it and utilized their interest in your property, they get you to pay for the house up front and then pay a little bit of the principal. And then what do? They get you to get another loan and refinance, right? And then repay that interest. And what did we find out the Bible says? Bible says that the maximum amount of interest on a situation like that, you remember that? 20%. And 20%. It's not compounding. It's just 20% one time.
Maximum.
Again,
and you're paying over 100%.
Maximum. 100%. Sometimes you're paying 110%, 105%, or whatever it is.
More. You're never paying under 100%. Well, and all of us are idiots because we look at it and say, "Oh, I'm getting a great rate. The Federal Reserve is down to 4% now. I'm only paying 4%.
I know. 3.5%.
5%.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. At 5%,
you're paying 100%. Yeah,
you're paying 100%. So go.
But they don't explain their algorithms to us. They only make it make sense when they pay influencers.
This is where I've got to scold you live on air, okay?
Go for it.
This is not about them explaining anything to us. They are crooks, like Puerto Rico, okay? They are crooks. They are very much corrupt. All of their past governors go to jail, get investigated. All they do is steal the money. Everybody down the line does the same thing. It's the same thing with these bankers. So you can
Right.
never expect a crook to explain to you their scam. Like, hey, I want to
Right.
explain my scam. Now,
Uh-huh.
you went to the police recently. Can you explain what happened? You had this incident. You were sitting in your car like you were now. And
Yeah.
what happened?
Some guy, some random fella drove up in his, I think we explained it last week, but he struck my car
No,
with
it
his.
happened after.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he hit my car, striking it while I'm finishing my sandwich. I'm on the phone with my mechanic. And so I kept him on the phone as kind of like a verbal witness. Anyways, I followed the fella and asked him, "Hey, man, what gives? You just hit my car." And he was kind of oblivious. At first I thought he was, under the influence of something. And then I just chalked it up to just, he's an elderly individual. And so it took a while, maybe about 20 minutes for him to find his insurance, but we found an expired insurance card. We contacted that insurance company, and the insurance company affirmed that, yes, this gentleman did have coverage. So we
They
bypassed the
verified it.
police. Uh-huh. So we bypassed the police, said, all right, we don't need to call the cops or file a report. Let's let the insurance take care of it. I
Yeah.
followed,
Like
everything.
gentlemen.
Well, 4 or 5 days go by, 4 days go by. I get a phone call from this insurance company, and they indicate that um, they did not, that this guy did not have coverage.
After
And
they told you he did.
after they told me, yeah, exactly. And so now I have to pursue law enforcement. So I contacted the local finest officer of that, place, and finally got to somebody who took down my report. And I mentioned the report, which was just really strange because
Okay,
this guy,
let's get
go
back to that.
ahead.
It's not a report, it's an affidavit. Yes.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Um,
Okay.
so that was my first mistake. I filed a report instead of submitted an affidavit. I actually wanted to come in and submit my affidavit, but he said, "Nah, we'll just do it over the phone." So we'll get back to that in a second because I am going to correct this. Anyway, it was interesting because I contacted this guy supposedly didn't have a phone. He was just kind of out of it. And so I contacted the number on the insurance card, which was an agent. And I just asked, "Hey, man, what gives?" And he goes, "Yep, this guy is the father, and the son has the insurance, but the father does not. And the father is currently homeless." And he basically said
But
that
whose car was it? The father or the son's?
father's. The son, I guess the father bought it from the son, and then the son removed the insurance and his father off the policy. And he explained why. He said he's bipolar and he's unsafe. And he said, "Bo, if you could, please file a police report. Please do whatever you can. I want my dad to go to jail." This is what he said. I was like, "What? I've never heard this from a son." But his father goes, "Yeah, he's unsafe because he's bipolar, and I just don't want him to hurt anybody. And I
Now,
want
people
him
like
to."
that shouldn't be riding around if they're
Right.
hit and runs.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Well, it could have been a
But,
worse
but let's
situation. He could
talk
have hit
about how
somebody.
it went when you went to the police, Bo.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So,
Because this is the
well,
thing we got to talk about.
it was just a phone call. So, but I am going to drop information off to
Okay,
them, and it will be
so
in the form of an
what did he
affidavit.
tell you?
However, he said that it's not a crime to drive without insurance. This is what he told me. I
Right.
said,
So what
"Oh,
he told you was factually incorrect. So you've got to, again, guys,
right.
this isn't about having rights. It's about
Uh-huh.
exercising them. And
Correct."
Bo, you of all people should not take the word of a police officer for jack shit. They mostly are
Uh-huh.
undereducated.
Right.
They're going to tell you whatever they can to get you off the phone so they don't
Yeah.
have to do a report.
Right.
And are there, in fact, laws, Bo, that are contrary to what the man said?
There are.
Oh,
Yes.
so there's
So
laws in the books that say you must have insurance, which we all
right.
know.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea why you would accept that man's offer.
Right. Well, I didn't accept it officially. I said that I'm gonna come in and bring my paperwork, which is in the form of an affidavit, and it will be pursuing this. And not only is it right
You're
for
going to
me to
have to
pursue
pursue
this,
charges.
right? Not only is it right, but I'm his son, who may or may not be or have been the father's caretaker. And
Yeah.
so being the caretaker actually wants me to file
You
a police
have
report. Actually wants
responsibility.
he wants his car to get
If
taken.
you know
He
your
wants
son,
him to be
yeah,
right.
then he should have done it and he should have gone to court
Right.
And he should have taken control over his father's estate.
Yeah.
He should have actually been, we were talking about it, about bad people doing that. But
Right.
there are cases, let's turn this around. There's cases when you need to take control over one of your parents' estates or one of your loved ones'
Right.
estate when they're not capable. Now,
Right.
his son is the one that's responsible right now because his son knew his dad was a danger to society. His son put him in the car that he sold him.
Yep.
He's the one that's responsible.
I told him, I said, hey, I don't feel right, bringing your dad to court and getting him in trouble. And he goes, no, Bo, you feel right. He said, this needs to happen. This is what his son, the strangest conversation I've ever had. And the son is actually like telling me, no, this is what you need to do. File the report, get the police involved, get my dad in jail so I can get him help. That's what his son said.
Yeah, but I would say go back to him. Yeah. And what he must file as a conservator, or there's another word for it. It'll come to me in a minute. But basically where he takes control over the estate. Okay. Right. Because you have to go to court when you have an elderly family member who is just, lost it. And it's probably not his fault. I mean, there's so many, maybe he got the vaccines. Maybe he was, eating too much of these pesticide vegetables. Maybe he's got too many parasites in his body. Who knows what's causing his symptoms? But when somebody is out of control, that man's responsibility is to his father, not yours, really, Bo. Ultimately, he has a duty to, I would include the son in your police report.
He already gave me permission to do so. He said, please tell them they're well aware of our situation.
But I would point a finger of responsibility at the son for not taking the dad to court. Like if he did, that would be one thing. And if he went to court and it didn't happen, okay. But when you have somebody in your family who's incapacitated or just making really bad decisions, like we're kind of going through this in our own family where we have a family member that's making bad health choices, right? And then it's going to be our responsibility to take care of that family member, right? Like, it's really tough. So there are cases where you have to draw the line on that type of relationship that you have. And if somebody wants you to be their caretaker, there's a different level. And this goes back to trust, right? I mean, that's why we have this durable power of attorney, right? So the durable power of attorney that my wife has, I just was in the States doing some for some other people. I was doing a little bit of trust work. I was setting up some new trusts. That's why one of the reasons I was traveling to the States, not to Puerto Rico, because trusts are illegal in Puerto Rico unless you're a bank or a lawyer. So I'm just kind of telling you the degree of disgust
that's
that I
crazy.
have for Puerto Rico, just because it is the shammiest, scammiest scumbag of a state I've ever seen. Not even a state, and never should be. So listen to that one, and Puerto Rico, you can have it. I'd never want to step foot on that ever again.
Wow. I can't believe they can't allow you to operate in trust. I mean, what do they say about
only if you allow the bank or a lawyer to be your trustee?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That goes against scripture. I don't know how they're going to answer that.
It goes directly with the Vatican.
Right. Wow.
It goes, and that's why a lot of the scripture is distorted, and a lot of the, let's say, practices of what everybody's practicing are also distorted. That's why we don't have the Heter Ishka loan. I would say it's directly correlated to the Vatican, because the Vatican always has been, the center of the banking cartel. So, when you have the center of the banking
maybe
cartel,
I don't know about that. I would say that
maybe my ass. They're the largest bank in the planet. They have more deposits than anybody else, Bo. What do you mean? The largest one always wins in everything. What do you think? Coke doesn't have like some kind of domination over RC?
No, I just thought that it was I thought it was the Jewish Rockefeller that whole thing. They were the financial arm, the religious arm was the Vatican.
Yeah,
And then
look at the Vatican. Look at what they wear on their heads. The same thing a
right.
Jew wears on their head.
That's pretty
Or a
interesting.
Jewish.
Yeah, right.
Okay, like
Yeah, Jewish, yeah.
the thing is, you like most of these, uh, most of these, even a lot of these Middle Eastern countries are representing by issues and people posing to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where everybody like, you know, you need to get really in like Puerto Rican pride. Like it's not about like we love
Right.
Puerto Rico. It's about, you know, the same pride when they have that parade where
Right.
everybody's taking their clothes off and it's just a bunch of dudes. And
Right.
that's what Puerto Rico is like.
Yeah.
That's what Puerto Rico is.
Wow.
The home of Ricky
Wait,
Martin.
I
You know
wanted,
what I
yeah, I wanted to say one more thing
Yep.
about that lawsuit, or the not lawsuit, the that fellow that hit me. Anyway, so Adam mentioned something that really spoke to me, and this is what happens when, you know, somebody speaks to you at a level of like a spiritual level, and he said this guy needs to be this needs to be handled correctly because he could kill somebody. The harm that he
He's gonna
he
kill
could create.
somebody. He lucked out that he
Right.
didn't kill you.
Right. So, and that did something, because in my brain, I always go through scripture, just goes through. And the Bible says that, you know, he brings all things to remembrance. And one of the things was that to know the right thing to do and not do it is grievous, or is a sin.
Correct.
And so I now know the right thing to do. And so now my course of action is to, you know, submit my affidavit and pursue this at the, well, his son was the one that actually wanted me to do this, but it's the right thing to do. And I just,
No, but you have to pursue the son too, because he's also wrong. Okay, his son
well,
caused harm. Okay,
maybe,
his
yeah.
son, no, his son caused harm. The car that if he didn't
Huh.
sell his dad the car, if he knew the
Yeah.
dad was mentally incompetent, yet he sold him the car anyways,
Right.
and he couldn't figure out a better way,
Right.
he's in the wrong. You have to listen. The easiest way is just give your dad a car, say go live in your car and drive away.
Right.
You know you need a I can't even pronounce it correctly. Conservatorship of your father, and you know that he's mentally ill.
Right.
You can't let mentally ill people on the street when they're related to you, and you have a duty to your father who raised you and all those things. So who's negligent here more so than the actual man who is sick? It's that son. Now he's trying to abdicate his responsibility to you and say, Bo, now you need to go talk to the police. Now you need to go take control of the situation. My claim, if it was me, would be with that son. That son would be paying for my losses, and I would demand that that son took his father into the court system, and after he served his like little punishment or whatever it was, even though I don't think he deserves a punishment, that the son takes control of the situation, however that may be.
Right.
It's just the way it is. It's a dereliction of duty. It's an abdication of his own responsibility, and now he's put the responsibility on his dad's welfare on you, because he just lets his dad run around all chaotic in his old car, slamming into people. Not okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I brought this up, and the reason everybody's probably like, Adam, why are you talking about this? Why is this important to us? It's because you got to really practice what we preach here. Like you got to really put into practice being a state national, right? Being a sovereign, not a sovereign citizen, but being a sovereign, one who governs themselves.
Right.
And, you know, when a police officer tells you some bullshit that driving without a insurance is not illegal, and that they can just go around harming without having it, that's false, right? So if you take that stuff, you're not practicing. The reason we're here educating you guys on situational things that happen is so you can be better prepared when you encounter these things in life, right?
Right.
Making sure that all your vehicles are in trust, making sure that when you encounter these, you know, this hive of the law enforcement, or the policy enforcement rather, because I don't think they enforce much laws. He didn't even know the law. He just
He
was like,
didn't. Yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
they probably knew the guy. They probably knew that they probably wouldn't make a lot of money from the action.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to create a cause of action.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
So he made a financial decision like, my boss doesn't want to bring this guy in again. Everybody knows he's crazy and nothing will stick and blah, blah, blah. And, so their policy is situational. So you got to push that through. You can't eat
Right.
people's shit like that. If somebody gives you a shit sandwich, you don't eat it, So
Right.
when the police officer says something to you that you know to be false, you have to stand up immediately,
Right.
take charge of the situation. Don't get argumentative or confrontational, or you'll get killed. But you definitely put it in the form of an affidavit and say, no, I'm coming in with my affidavit. I'm putting everything on the record, and I need to press charges. And
Right.
it's their duty to press charges. If they won't press charges, you take it to the prosecutor.
Right.
They're, again, the police officers trying to make you live in fear. Like, oh, then you should be afraid to drive all the time because you never know if somebody really has insurance or not. Or
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
Come on,
Right. No,
somebody
that's
can't steal your property.
right.
At the very least, he harmed you, stole from you, your time, your property, which is an arrestable offense. Theft is arrestable offense. Damage to personal property is an arrestable offense. So this guy needs to be fired and reeducated. You need to be more diligent in what you're doing and not take shit from these guys. If you're going to take their shit, like, why even do it? Like, why spend the time if you're going to say, oh, yeah, you're right, officer. Thanks for telling me. I'm out of luck. Bullshit. Bullshit. You got to call bullshit on these people, or there's no point of doing any of this.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Because if you just want to listen to me or listen to Bo or listen to anybody, and even David, and then just, oh, well, you said that, so let's let it go. Do-de-do-de-do. No, it ain't going to happen that way.
Right.
You have to stand up for yourself, because ain't nobody going to stand up for you. Your wife ain't going to stand up for you. Your kids ain't going to stand up for you. You got to stand up for yourself. You got to be the man. You got to go in there and say, hey, this is not right. I demand now that something is done about this. This is your job as a public servant. Okay.
Yep.
And then you don't ask for their badge number. Say, yeah, I need your badge number. I need your bond. I need your bond that's attached to this.
That's
because I have
good.
to file against your bond because you're not fulfilling your public duty. I don't want to, but now I'm being harmed by you, because now you got to spend yet another 2 hours, half a day of time to deliver everything when they could have handled things properly. So you got to claim against the officer, you got to claim against this old man, and you got to claim against the son. Okay.
Yeah.
Once your property is fixed, you have no claim, right? You just want your property fixed. And you probably have a claim against the insurance company, because the insurance company claimed that he was insured.
They did.
Scene of his crime without calling the police at that time to have him arrested.
Right. Yep.
So these things are all critical, I would say, obligations that we have to enforce, and we have to really do. So I apologize for pointing out your failure there, but you have to turn your failure into something you can stand on, and not let it happen again, because it's like Jesus and turn the other cheek. Okay, they punch you in the cheek. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You know what my response is? You don't let them punch you in the nuts.
So So all right, let me explain that for a second. So the three things that Jesus talked about there, when somebody when they strike you, right, turn the other cheek. So the reason why that was important was because when they strike you with the back of their hand, which is kind of like a B slap. I'm over you in this situation. But the reason you turn the other cheek is because you want them to use the open part of your hand, because when you do that, it means we're equals. That was why Jesus was a revolutionary. He was bringing about a revolution, and he was teaching them how to do it. The second one was if they force you to walk 1 mile.
the
if they force you to
bookstore.
walk 1 mile,
Yep.
they said, tell them, no, we're going to do 2, because it was against the law back then for them to force you to walk more than a mile. The third thing was, if somebody forces you to leave your, or want your cloak, give them your tunic as well. Well, that would essentially make you naked. And if you were naked, so being naked in that day wasn't a shame to the person that was naked. It was a shame to anybody who looked upon somebody that was naked. And so
Yeah.
what Jesus was doing is he was showing a people, don't be under them. Don't be succumbed to them. Just like what Adam and David have been teaching us, and what we've been talking about on this is about, we're not under them. That's why we don't say, I don't understand you. I understand what you're saying, and I can overstand that because I stand on my documents. But when we get, when Jesus said, turn the other cheek, it's because you do that because you're not underneath them. I am telling you who you are and the authority that you walk in and who your father is. And that is who you are. Turn the other cheek. Let them know that you are on equal ground. And I'm just as much as a man as you are. That's what Jesus meant when he said to turn the other cheek. He was not a weak man.
Yeah,
He
Bo,
was not weak. He was
that
meek.
may or may not be true. It's nice that you believe that is.
Well, it's just historical facts.
Yeah, there's no historical facts about that, but it's
Okay.
nice that you believe that that's a historical fact, but you weren't there. So
Sure.
the fact of the matter is, for example, there's Sun Tzu, and he created a book
Sun
called
Tzu,
Art
Art
of
of
War.
War. Uh-huh.
And I went to the bookstore the other day to get an extra copy because I have a child who is responsible for this book, and he's lost the book several times. And I had to get him another copy of the book. And there's about 20 different copies of the book.
Really?
So I'm there with the librarian at the bookstore saying, like, hey, how is it possible that there's so many different copies of the same book?
Yeah.
I was going to hold it up, but my son, again, who's responsible only for this one book, has lost it again. So he's looking around for it as we speak.
Mm.
But the fact of the matter is, at the bookstore, there's about this many copies. Some of them are this big. Some of them are this big. Some of them are this big. And they're all with this man, Sun Tzu's text, but with their interpretation and their opinion of that text. Okay.
Yeah.
We got to get with law and facts. Okay. And,
Correct.
you know, you can interpret whatever you want there, Bo, and believe that it means something to you. And that's great for you. You know, it's not necessarily that way for everybody else. It's not that way for me. And the Sun Tzu's Art of War is also a quote unquote historical fact. It's a guy that existed possibly in a certain time that wrote a certain book based on, you know, a way that you would war against the enemy, right?
Yep.
A lot of times scripture is the same thing. That was his scripture. And, you know, there's 20 different interpretations from 20 different men that wrote it 20 different ways. So, you know, maybe,
Yeah.
all I know is my interpretation of it.
Sure.
And ultimately, what we're responsible to do here, whatever the quote unquote scripture or past or history, whatever it says, we're not supposed to go against it as long as we're in alignment with it.
Right.
That's the main point.
Precisely.
What we need to do is, you know, not do harm to others. And when there is harm done to us, get justice for it. So, oh, thank you, son.
Found it.
This one.
That
Look
one.
how thin it is. Okay. Yeah. Look how thin it is, because the only author on it is Sun Tzu. Now there's 100 different Art of War books there, or 20. And it's all these different people's interpretation. And we have a lot of that, even with the scripture, even with your friend who's the rabbi, his interpretation. You know, the Jewish people interpret the Torah differently. They interpret it, you know, that we're pieces of junk that they can just, you know, leave the money, wish you weren't here. Yeah, can't you just not go on vacation to Puerto Rico and send the money? It would be much better for us. That's kind of the way the banks work, right? Like, can't you just not be on the planet and send us that interest? And the art of war, it's kind of the same thing, right? It's like there's this guy, Sun Tzu, who wrote very specific text, but that very specific text is only 62 pages. But the other arts of war were hundreds and hundreds of pages because it was everybody's blah, 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 thinking about what this one person had said. And I hope that this is even a correct translation. You never know, because there was like big, beautiful books. There was like small hardback books. There was like, all different variations of the quote unquote same book. When I said librarian, Sun Tzu, Art of War. Okay. So what you have to make sure when you're standing up against these ones and standing up against these people, because it always is the art of war, right? It always is good versus evil. There's always this black and white. There's this pendulum. There's this yin and yang that we're always experiencing, right? And sometimes we'll experience more of that pendulum. Like, why is this happening to me? And that's called the ups and downs of life. And if you've never taken that course or read that book, you probably should, because it'll help explain a little bit about the ups and downs of life. And, I like to read books because there's a lot of knowledge in those books. And, with Sun Tzu, sometimes people's interpretation is good. And I take it and I say, thank you, Bo, for your interpretation. It's good. Sometimes it's like not where I wanted to go with it, or not what I needed it for at that moment, or something I can understand.
Well, it ironically just it coincided with what you were saying with me and the police officer. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. So
right, exactly.
Their interpretation of the law, like I'm going through something right now with an attorney, right? And I sent him a letter yesterday at 9 a.m. And by 11, I had a letter from him telling him all the reasons I was wrong and all the reasons he was going to destroy me. Art of war, right?
Yeah.
And I hit him back with a response like, hey, man, your interpretation of this is blatantly false. And I hit him back with fact after fact after fact after fact. Like, here's what the law says. Here's what the Supreme Court says. Here's what the Constitution says. Here's what your mother says, Like, I go that deep into his mother. I'm just kidding. But but you gotta, when you're dealing with this and you're having these little battles in your life, when you're having these little wars, the best thing that we can't come with a sword, right? We can't really come with fire. We can't really, pollute someone's water supply. Those are things that we can't do anymore. But when you get into the biblical aspect of what the water is, right? You can hit them back with things that are a lot harder. Right. And that email I sent, so a response was sent yesterday, 3 hours later. It's now 5 p.m. I haven't got a response back from my response to his response. That was so quick because I got into his water. I polluted his water with facts, right? And that's what you want to do with these guys. So I think if you interpret the Bible like very Neville Goddard about the water, we are all the water, right? It's a lot of it is your consciousness or your mind is the water, right? So when you want to go and use the art of war and pollute their water, you have to come with very strong points of the law and whatever they're trying to represent, right? A lawyer, he's trying to represent the law. And when he gets it wrong, you got to squash him with it. So not only did I send him and copy everything to his fellow guys in his company, I also sent a CC to the bar, the local bar, and to all the reasons. So I filled them into it. So I involved the state of and their disciplinary committee, and I sent a letter attached to it, which was his the whole thing was called the lawyer's letter of incompetence, because it just showed, I said, I can't believe you're an attorney, handling things this way that are so far outside of the law that you're actually an accomplice to the crime, So I sent that, I sent the law, and then I sent, a questionnaire for him to answer with about, I don't know, I think I sent the questionnaire to you too, Bo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got probably like 50 or 100 questions on it of all the shit now that I want to ask him, because, he has a duty to the public. He is actually a public employee through, he's an officer of the court. So he has a duty to get these things back. And if he doesn't, he's going to get disbarred. So it'll be another notch on my belt. And, those kind of things are really important, that you don't let these things go. You follow up with the facts and keep things rolling. But your camera seems off. Intentional. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we just can't see you.
Oh, okay. Let me.
Now, you also might have some claims against. Are you able to turn it on, Bo?
Yep.
Should we reset you?
No, I got it. I'm getting on. So I just wanted, just before we end too, I sent you, so you can put it on the screen if you want. I sent you that biblical reference guide of what happens when somebody trespasses, what happens when they rob you, what happens if, and I should have added the difference between an ox and a sheep or a goat, because there is a difference. The ox was their vehicle. It's like their vehicle of the day, and their sheep was their commerce, where you can get milk or meat or wool from it. And so that's kind of the modern variation today. The modern equivalent is, if you harm somebody with an ox, it's like hitting you with a car. But that's how you can modernize the what that says. So anyways,
Okay.
did you find it?
Yeah, kind of, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not pulling up here.
Okay. Well, anyways, I thought it'd be neat for people to see it here. But anyways, continue with what you were saying. I got flies.
No, continue.
Yeah.
It's just not wanting to. Copy.
Interesting.
So hold on, I'm trying to save it. It's not really formatting well. Here, I'll change that. All right, we'll see what we can get it up. But basically, because every type of harm is dealing with a thief, right? In murder, they're stealing your life. In rape, they're stealing your sexual freedom. Coercion, they're stealing your freedom of choice.
Right.
And trespass, they're stealing your comfortability with your, all of your stuff, right?
Exactly. Well, trespass is more than just somebody walking on your land. They're actually impeding your environment as whole, whether it's your property, whether it's your finances, whatever it is. It's like theft. It's in the form of theft, but they are withholding something by impeding on it. So it's a different way of trespass. And so anyways.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put them on the Telegram, I think, because they're not
not able to share the screen.
They're not joining on the screen. But
interesting. Okay.
It's there, and it just kind of like, again, we warn them and we highlight them, and there's not much we can do. It just doesn't mean we need to let it go. Like, again, that's that misinterpretation of turn the other cheek, whatever you want to say, backhand, front hand, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to get walked all over ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And a lot of people interpret it that way. And I think that's been ingrained in our culture as Christians to make us weak, right? To make us weak and just say, hey, we're supposed to be nice little Christians and shut up
and
and take your crap.
And that's how these pastors and priests are interpreting it for the congregation or the sheep by saying, oh, we just have to do everything the government says. So Paul told Timothy something about the
Well, when
government,
they sign up
and
with
it
the
was
government to be a government church, they do.
exactly. Yep. So it's, when you read those scriptures, you have to read it based on the context of the time that it was written. And we may read it one way today in the 21st century, but in the first century, I got to tell you, that's not what it meant. You have to read it within its time. The reason that stuff was written was to go against the modern government, to go against the flow of them overtaking you. And it's
Correct.
interesting.
And now it's
Yeah.
supposed to be this compliance
I
bullshit.
know, it's so weird.
No.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
that's why
I
we're
was
so
duped.
frustrated as changing our
Uh-huh.
status and
Exactly.
everything that got us started, because we're like, how are
We're
we
all
the
been
ones?
exactly. We've all been indoctrinated. I was indoctrinated. I drank all their Kool-Aid they gave to me. I didn't want to go to the mountaintop of Sinai by myself. I wanted somebody else to do it for me, and then hear what they had to say instead of going to the Father on
And
my
it
own.
don't work like that, as you
It
know.
doesn't. It doesn't. And that's not what Jesus taught us either. He taught us to be our own man and to literally be sovereign, who we are. That's why he says, 1 John 4:17, as he is, so are we in this world. And if he is, then I am. That's why Adam wears that hat. Really.
It's true.
So, so
And
we are who he says he is. And
yeah,
every time every time we make a statement about ourselves, we should say, I am great. I am good at this. I am going to be successful in this race, in this business, in this
yeah, no.
child rearing, being a parent.
Most of this
I
is just
am.
about how you react
Of
to it and
course.
how you view yourself.
Yep.
You have to
Uh-huh.
have that positive, I'm not going to lose this. Because if you go into it saying, "Oh, I'm in need of a lawyer.
Right.
I am scared of the system. I'm worried that they could do something." I ain't worried about shit.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep. Exactly.
You can all go screw. I don't care about them. They're not going to harm me. They're not going to harm my family. I'm not taking their shit. Period.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
End of the
Yep.
story. And
And,
I am
and
going to get
Jesus
justice
taught us to do
in
that.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's
here
like,
we are. We think that we think that meek means weak, and it doesn't. Meek is an internal strength that we are literally utilizing our self-control because we don't want to let that strength out in that moment because
yep.
there's an opportune time when that happens, when we can do that.
Yep.
You know?
I agree. And I want to ask one more thing because
Yeah, go for it.
we're rescheduling
Trust event.
the trust event for
It's going to be
November.
in Puerto Rico, right?
Definitely not.
Just kidding.
Definitely not. Yeah. But we're working on Bo's gonna have some notaries available there. So
yes.
you're gonna come with no trust. You're gonna leave with one, possibly more trust.
Yep.
At least one ready to go. We're gonna do that in November. We're gonna hold your hand. I'm debating whether I'm gonna give any like aftercare and assistance because there's a lot to go over. There's a lot. And again, I went to trust camp and it was good.
Right.
But me and Nick were like the only two guys that understood what anybody was saying because it was over most people's head. So I have to make sure that this is in alignment with everybody and where we're at and that we're at the right place where, we can at least get a trust administered, get a declaration of trust, get all of our trust documents ready, up and rolling. So we're shooting for November because I want to give everybody a chance to get plane tickets, get, hotel booked, and get everything ready to go.
And we want it to be stress-free. I mean, we were like, all right, next week we're going to do it. And we don't want somebody to be ill prepared, even though most of us are going to be ill prepared anyways. At least it gives us an opportunity. What do we need? What do we need to bring? And then gives everybody time to, find accommodation. So, that's good.
That's kind of the plan. We were trying to rush it a little bit to get it out there, but that wasn't the way it was going to go. So we'll see you guys in November.
Yep.
We will put some emails out in the next week or two with exact date, time, everything like that. And we love you all. Keep on fighting. Don't give up. And we'll talk to you next week.
That's right. Don't forget to turn the other cheek.
Bam.
And don't get hit in the balls.
Correct.
Love you guys.